everyone. Today we're going to be doing macaroni and cheese. A lot of you me do now question wanted to see this made, so it's a pretty simple recipe. We have everything that we need here, including a couple of substitutions if you're interested in maybe using those. So for macaroni and cheese, you have to remember a couple different things. You're not using the powder from like the Kraft box. You're making your own roux. And a roux, it's spelled R-O-U-X, and it's pretty much the base to like a sauce or even like a soup. It's an equal part of flour and butter or any type of fat. So in this case, we have 2 tablespoons of flour and we have 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, ingredients. You need about 8 ounces of some sort of macaroni. I'm using the shells. This is Banza brand. If anybody's familiar with the Banza brand, it's actually chickpea pasta, and it's very much high in protein. It's a little bit better for you than regular pasta, and this is just what we use. If you're using regular pasta, though, that's totally fine. That's really what this recipe is for. 2 tablespoons of flour, which we actually have mixed already with a dash of black pepper, and our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It's already in that dish. All right, we also need 2 tablespoons of butter. And what I haven't showed you yet is a stick of butter actually has measurements on it. You can see there are little dashes and it tells you what measurement it is. So there's 8 tablespoons, okay? And you can see the teaspoons are on top. So for the tablespoons, you need 2. You would count 1 line, 2 lines, and you would actually cut right there. So 2 tablespoons tells you exactly on the butter how much you get. Okay, so I'm gonna cut my 2 tablespoons. Make sure we have that ready to go. The next thing you're gonna need is a cup of milk. The higher the fat content, the creamier your mac and cheese sauce will be. So I have whole milk here. Although I've done mac and cheese before with loads of different milks, I've used 1%. I've actually used almond milk before, so it really, it's doable. You also need 2 cups of cheddar cheese grated. So you have 2 options here. You can get a block of cheddar cheese and grate it yourself. This is a grater. Or you can get the already pre-made shredded cheddar cheese and just measure it out with your 1 cup measuring cup. All right? So I'm going to be using the shredded cheddar cheese today just because that's a little bit easier for me. Then the last thing is 2 ounces of Velveeta cubes. Velveeta is like that processed American cheese. If you don't want to use the Velveeta cubes, you can actually substitute like a 1/4 cup of sour cream or even Greek yogurt, because it's really just to help make it creamier. This will make it cheesier also, but you don't have to use Velveeta. Just add in a little bit of sour cream and it kind of does the same thing. All right, you're gonna need 2 saucepans, 1 larger, 1 medium. The medium for our roux and our cheese sauce, and the larger one is for our macaroni, which I'm going to turn on now to get that going, because water takes a little while to boil. So you want to start that on high. Then you also need some sort of a colander or strainer, okay, to drain the macaroni, and a whisk to whisk up your roux. And some measuring cups, of course, right? The liquid measuring cup for milk, dry measuring cup for your cheese, and your measuring spoons for the flour and seasonings. Okay, let's begin. So number 1, bring a large pot of water to a boil. Check. Number 2, in a small bowl, measure the flour, salt, and pepper. Check. Number 3, in a saucepan, a medium saucepan, melt the butter over medium heat and do not brown. You don't want that butter to burn. So I'm going to turn this on a medium heat, and I'm going to stick my 2 tablespoons of butter right in there. And it takes a little while to melt. So our next step after it melts is to actually now make the roux. So what we're gonna do when this is all melted is add in our flour. And it's gonna be like almost like oatmeal looking, like mashed potatoes looking. It's gonna be like kind of gritty. So that's like the base of your roux, and you just kind of keep stirring it until it's like very melty. And then I'm gonna bring the camera over so you can see what it'll look like. Okay, as you can see, my butter is melted. I'm not going to let it brown. So right now at this point, you're gonna add in your flour and then the black pepper and the salt mixture, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna sprinkle that in and whisk it up. See what I mean? How it kind of looks a little bit like that oatmeal color or like mashed potatoes. Once you add the milk, It's definitely gonna have more of a consistency of that in the very beginning, and I'll show you how that looks. Okay, so we're gonna let this get a little golden brown before we add in our next step, which would be to slowly, and when I say slowly, I really mean it, slowly pour in that milk while stirring. So you're gonna do both at the same time. Okay, color check. You can see it's a little bit more golden brown now, and we're gonna begin slowly adding the milk. So slowly adding it and stirring at the same time. You're gonna hear it sizzle. Okay? Slowly, almost in increments. So you can stop a little bit. You're gonna see that it gets very creamy right away. And now it almost looks more like mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna keep slowly adding it in while mixing with my whisk to break up any lumps. Okay, so what I have is all of the milk poured in, and I have a nice creamy sauce here going. Okay, so the next step is to simmer it over a medium heat, stirring constantly because the milk will stick to the bottom, and you want the sauce to get just a little bit thicker. And then you're gonna add your cheeses in. Now, keep in mind, the cheeses will also help to thicken this. Okay, I'm ready to turn my heat to low and add in my cheeses. Okay, so my cheese sauce is nice and thick. I added the cheeses in, and it's melting the cheese now. One of the reasons you add the cheese in last and you do it over a low heat is because if you overcook cheese, it'll be very chewy. You never want to overcook cheese. So some people even say to remove it from the heat because it's hot enough to melt the cheese without any flame. Oh goodness, this looks delicious. But now we have to wait for our water, which I should have started a little bit earlier. So we're gonna put this on pause. Let me show you what this cheese sauce looks like though. This is a creamy, beautiful mac and cheese sauce, and I can't wait to put it on my macaroni. See, much healthier than the processed Kraft mac and cheese, and very, very easy. Such an easy recipe. If you follow these steps, you'll get exactly this. Okay, my water is boiling. I just wanted to give you an idea of what boiling water looks like. They should be big rolling bubbles that break at the top. If there's anything less than this, it's not boiling yet. So we're ready to put that macaroni in.